Ashley, do you have the report? Ashley, are you there? She might not be there yet. I guess everybody's just logging in. We're having some opportunities with oh, Danielle is there. Danielle, you're able to get on?
Yeah, but the internet keeps going in and out.
Yeah. So I came home to do it. But just a couple of things. I just want to share with you all the importance of putting your numbers in as things occur, but maybe you had a lot of people that came out at the last minute. Um, but all along the Slack was saying we were like 160, 170 with -11. It ended up that we were and we had about, I don't know, 10 or 12 market centers that hadn't reported for a few days. As it turned out, we were 210 -60. So I think there were, I'm just trying to get some clarity. Was the last day you could take people out Friday or Saturday?
Saturday.
So did a lot of you take people out on Saturday?
No.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
I took my last one out on Friday.
Okay.
Transfers, but I know that I've got some MLS issues or people are not paying, so I had some
Yeah.
that came out. I'll have some more that'll come out hopefully, or not hopefully, but
Yeah. Okay.
they
I was just
spread them
trying
out
to get,
between now and June 4th.
we just got the numbers before I got on the call. So I was just curious what happened. So, all right. Well, we have our State of the Region call. So, and we're going to congratulate everybody for the month. We're a little bit behind. We're going to congratulate everybody for the month of April. But I think our top, and then maybe we'll show some of our market centers, if we get time, where they ended up for this month. But we're going to do April since we had Memorial Day and we're a little bit behind on that. So, we just want to congratulate some of our people who had a great month this month. So we're kind of staying on track with that because I know we're running about a couple weeks behind. So, what did you guys think about the announcement with Canva on the growth call today? What did you guys think about that?
Love
So
it.
excited.
Was that good?
Exciting.
Yes, it's very exciting. And so it's going to be a lot of good opportunities for us to be able to do some marketing, and all of our agents are going to have access to that. So I think they're all going to be very, very excited about that. So I want to start with Liliana because I wanted to congratulate Liliana on an indie that we may potentially be getting, but also the reason why is that you've got to kind of do the work in order to be able to get the results. So Liliana, this wasn't, you were just doing your regular networking, right? That's what I wanted to congratulate you on. You were kind of just doing some regular work. So tell everybody what you were doing and what transpired from it. So I just don't want to have any limiting beliefs out there.
Sure. So cold calling is not my jam, so I have to force myself to do that. And like, an agent, I hide behind texts, and I'm just being super vulnerable here. And so I was sending texts to agents around me in my territory just to start getting into a relationship. And I hit this indie, and the text basically said, hey, it's this Liliana with Keller Williams. I know that you're doing great out there. I'm looking to collaborate with people like you. No pitches, promises. Are you open for a 20-minute Zoom? And the guy replied and said, I am very open. Absolutely. Let's go talk. And do you want to come to my office? Sure. So we started having conversations. And as soon as I walked in, he said to me, is it true that you're not going to pitch? And I said, yeah, 100%. I won't pitch. I won't talk about Keller Williams unless you ask about Keller Williams. I just want to get to know you. So I asked the one question around, they always teach us, tell me about your real estate journey. And he spoke for an hour and a half. And I just said, and it was very hard. And we've been in conversations ever since. It's been, 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks this week. And it's a lot of work.
But you also found out about him and what he wants to do, because you said your real estate journey, but it was also about him personally, right? Because
yeah, absolutely.
That was really important.
His real estate journey is a personal thing, right?
Exactly.
So he shared a lot of information, and after he spoke for an hour and a half, he said, I do have questions because I'm open to collaboration and see what a partnership with Keller Williams would look like, because I have a meeting with Compass next week.
Mhm.
And the moment he mentioned the meeting, then, aggressive team leader came out and I was all like, listen, when do you have your meeting with Compass? And he said, Wednesday. And I said, so Tuesday, we are going to meet. And after that meeting, if you want me to call Compass and cancel the appointment, I will. I will do that for you.
Mhm.
So I didn't have to make the call. He made the call, but I was happy to make the call for him too. So we met before. It was very apparent to us immediately what was important to him. So we have just been kind of like chameleons, right? That's what we do. We want to mirror and match,
Right.
to put it in sales terms, I guess. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think the important part about that is that I think there's some limiting beliefs out there, possibly about people that have brokerages, they want to keep their companies, and there's ways to do that. That what kind of value are we gonna provide? And you need to understand is that most of them, they don't have CRM. What was the most?
Oh.
They don't have CRM, they don't have the training. They don't
Mhm.
want to really be writing the checks. It's a financial burden for them. They can't really build their own business. What was the biggest thing that was attractive to him, Liliana?
Leverage, the leverage that he could get in a partnership with Keller Williams. He is done being, and these are his words, I don't want to be the be all end all for my agents, because his own production is taking a hit because he's spending all this time in the brokerage. I mean, he literally writes his agents checks by hand. So it's a lot of time and effort that he's making for no money. And it's funny because when the second time that we met, I'm coming in because the first time he said, we're fine, we're covering all our expenses. And I'm coming in like, okay, so you're not needing money, right? But it wasn't like 30 minutes into the conversation. And I went with Leila and Ray to that meeting where Leila saw the in to ask because he was talking money. And she said, would you share your P&Ls? And he immediately shared P&Ls with us with no hesitation. And then we were looking at the reality of it all, right? So for him, it's a lot about leverage and about finding people that are helping him and his agents run a better business. He even told us, I don't know how to run a business. I know how to run my real estate, but this business of brokering, I don't know how to do that. I hate doing the 1099s. I hate writing the commission checks, like compliance, like I don't like that. I don't know what I don't know, basically, right? So there were plenty of ahas in our heads on the mindset standpoint of it, because I feel like we all go in with, well, they have ownership, right? Like they love this is their baby. So why would they partner up with any of us? And when the truth of the matter is that they're open, I was shocked that he was like so open and just asking questions. And I have a meeting with Compass and I'm like, oh, hell no, Compass, Keller Williams. So they're looking for options. So I think my biggest
And they're lonely. They don't have anybody to talk to. I mean, you got
yeah,
how many franchises? 900 or something franchises, or a team of people, or 38 franchises, and other team leaders and different people. And
yeah.
these people are kind of like an island unto themselves. They don't have all of the
Mhm,
network that we all provide. So,
mhm.
there's a lot
Yeah.
of
So my biggest aha in mindset was really like, they need to talk to someone. So why
Mhm.
not me?
Right.
I believe that we could do better than Compass. Like I wholeheartedly believe that. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. We laid out expectations that this is going to be very, very messy as we figure it out together. And if it works, it works. And if we cannot find a win-win, then we don't find a win-win and we'll just collaborate any other way.
Yeah. So I'm working with Liliana on some things to work out the agreement or the proposal a little bit more clear,
Mhm.
and some other legal things that we need to
Mhm.
make sure about, and just things that you guys need to think about as you're moving forward with it, to make sure it's a win on both sides. So
Yeah.
but the point I wanted to make is that there's people out there that are interested, and I don't have any limiting beliefs, like what do we have to offer? Why would anybody want to do this? What's going to be in it for them? And that you're hesitant to make the call. You don't know what you don't know. So there's plenty of people that are looking for a solution, and Compass is apparently reaching out. Either Compass reached out or he reached out to Compass. So we've got to be reaching out to people. It's like somebody's thinking about listing their house in a farm in an area where you're taking listings and you don't know that they just got pregnant or their father passed away or
Mhm.
you just got a job transfer. But oh no, we're going like, oh, nobody's going to move in that neighborhood. It's like today's a different day than it was yesterday, right?
Yeah,
So if
we're
you're
the
not
fourth,
talking to people all the time, go ahead, Liliana.
we're the fourth people
Right.
he's talked with.
The
We're
fourth
the fourth.
person. So are they been reaching out
Mhm.
to him? Did you ask him? Were they reaching out to
Yeah,
him?
they are reaching out to him.
So guys, other people are reaching out to
Mhm.
these people.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if we're not reaching out to them, they probably wonder why. So good job, Liliana. I just wanted to take that limiting belief off the plate. And the worst thing they can say is no.
Yeah,
And no is just a temporary yes, right?
absolutely. And not yet.
It's just a not yet. That's right. Okay. That's one thing. The second thing is I had a really good conversation with your OPs a little bit earlier today about what we're going to be doing for June. So in June, and MCAs, we're going to be talking about this on your MCA call Wednesday. This is the month that you can change your budgets. So there might be some company dollar change, some of you have rent reduction, rent increases, you have staffing changes, all kinds of different stuff going on. For the last couple of years, we haven't really needed to do some of these budget changes, but this year we decided to make sure that you knew that you could be changing it. So, and there'll be a process for it that Ashley will be giving out because again, you're going to have to go in, adjust your budget, send it in for approval, and then we will approve it, and then you would put it in by the end of this month. So we're going to give you some timelines on that. But most of you should know, and if you're looking at your variances from now through well through this month through May, you'll see where you need to make some adjustments, okay, from your variances. So after this transmittal, you should have a pretty good idea. And so we'll give you the date that all that needs to be done by and when you send it in. The other thing is that we want you to update your paint by numbers. And so let me just go to that real quick. And I'm just going to give you an idea of what that would, an idea of what that would look like. So let me share my screen. And again, I went through this with your OP, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I just want to kind of share with you what we talked to them about, so everybody's on the same page. And then you should all be doing this with the entire staff. Shoot. This isn't anything that an OP would just do with the team leader and the MCA. This would be bring in your market center tech trainer, bring in your director of first impressions, bring in your productivity coach, bring in your agent services, all the different staff members that you have: OP, team leader, MCA, MCTT, productivity coach, director of first impressions, compliance person, all of the, and whoever you have in your market there, you all have people named different things. So I can't maybe get all the staffing names correct, but make sure that you're including everybody. So everybody's buying into this vision. So you're going to go to your market center and then you're going to see your 2025 budget and goal document. And you're going to open that up and then you'll see your paint by numbers. And I'm not going to ask you to, we're not going to give you a new one. You can save it, your other one, or you can just redo the one that you had. Probably what I would say is copy it and redo it for your next 6 months. But as a reminder, here's what you're going to do. You're going to use the same information that we're just going to give you an opportunity to kind of readjust it. So you're going to look at what your owner profit goal was. And if you're maybe negative $20,000 or $30,000, are you still on track for an owner profit goal of 100,000? Or is that going to be 80? Or maybe you're over, maybe it's going to be a year for you. So what would that look like? And then what is your profit as a percent of profit of company dollar goal? What does that look like? That's going to give you a new company dollar goal. Okay, that's going to give you a new company dollar goal. It might be the same, it might be more, it might be less. But depending on where you are, you may need to increase your company dollar goal through your recruiting or productivity or whatever methods you think you need to do in order to be able to hit the number you need to hit. It may just be an aha of where you are with your business, so you know what you need to do to be able to be profitable. Most of this is just a review of your multi-year trends reports, and then looking at your numbers to see if you're on track to be able to hit the goals you need to hit. Step 2 would be you've got your the company dollar goal, then you've got your prior year company dollar goal. Then you've got your lost company dollar. That would be from last year. None of those are changing. Then the amount of company dollar returning this year, this would all be the same. Where you're going to be looking at an adjustment is this number here, current year attrition. If you were anticipating $74,000 loss and you're already at 74 or 50, that number probably needs to increase because you need to, just like you said, we've got 60 people that went out. I guarantee you some of them were contributing company dollar. Okay, even if it was just a quarter capper or a few capping dollars, it's probably some company dollar there. So you got to look and see, what have I lost already? Am I going to lose any more? What do you anticipate? So you can get to the correct number of the company dollar gap. Okay, and then you're going to come over here to step 3. And if your number is the same, make sure that your internal and your external numbers, or excuse me, your internal recruiting, your external number and your internal numbers are, if you're on track for those things. If the number is up, then you got to maybe look to recruit more people. Okay. Remember though, when you're looking at a capper, if you're not bringing in the capper, probably before August, you're probably not going to get a lot of that company dollar this year. It's probably going to be about 50%. If it takes them about 6 to 8 months to cap, you're probably only going to get about 50% of it this year and 50% of it the next year. So, kind of take some of those things into consideration. Then step 4 would be, this is the R2 number. You're going the R1 and the R2 number. Then you're going to look here. What part of it is going to be R1? What part of it is going to be R2s? And then your step 5. Oops, sorry, forgot to go down here. Then you're going to look down here and say, okay, my market center cap is 18. This is how many cappers I need for R2s. I'm going to talk to you about that in a second, why we have a 1.5 here. Sometimes we put 18,000 here, which is fine. But if you're bringing them in, or if you have a lower cap you're offering, if you're going to put them on a, 15,000 for the first year and a half or something, if you're going to have cap management, you're not going to get that full $18,000. So this is why you have a couple of things. This just tells you how many cappers you're going to need at 18,000. The reason we have here cap equivalent is 1.5 is because we know that you're not going to receive all that company dollar that first year, or you're going to put them on cap management. So it's going to take a little bit longer for you to be able to get that company dollar. That's why we have 1.5 here, which means you really need to be bringing in 12. Okay. And then you have to take into consideration, this is just something you have to put in your mind. All right, I need 12 people, but if you're giving all of those 12 people cap management for 6 months and we're in July, you're probably not going to get that that money this year. So you're kind of already working on next year. Does that kind of make sense to everybody? So it may be you have to think about the people that you brought on the first half of the year. How are you going to get those people to be your 8 cappers? The system kind of doesn't allow for, I mean, the way this is done, it doesn't really allow for that because we're doing it in the middle of the year, but you need to think about that so you really work to hit your goals. I think sometimes we put our goals together and we really don't go back and look at them, or we're not looking at everything every month to see how closely you are tracking to your goals. So then this here is, what is your agent goal? Now, remember, this was done at the end of last year. So if end of last year you were at 160, but let's say you've lost 20 agents and you're at 140. You have to then adjust. You may not be able to get that 200 number, because this would mean that you wanted to end up getting, adding 40 agents, net to be at the 200. But if you're already down 20, that means you might need to get 60. So these whole numbers change. So I want to do this during the month of June. So July, August, September, October, November, December, we're really focused on what we need to do, because this is going to be setting you up, everybody, for a successful end of the year, but more importantly, what we're going to be doing next year. Because whatever you do these last 6 months is really going to have an impact on your year next year. Okay. So Liliana, if you are able to go out and get a couple of these indies, that could make up for everybody. If you all went out and got a couple of these indies, and you could bring in, like 2 or 3 cappers from that, or 5 or 6 cappers and 3 or 4 half cappers, you can fill this report very, very easily through that, understanding that I know you're going to be making deals, but at least you're monitoring it, and you know what you're going to need to do, or if you can't bring in the money and it's going to be reflected next year, at least you know what you're doing to be building your business. Okay. So we're going to be sending out an email as to when this is going to be due, but doesn't mean you can't go in and start doing it now, looking at your multi-year trends, taking May into consideration. MCAs, you can start looking at your variances and seeing what you're going to need to do. I know you're going to be finishing up your month-end close here in a couple of days. And so you could still kind of start looking at it, and then we'll send out the instructions. But I'm sure it's all we're going to need to probably have budgets in by the middle of the month, because we have to review them for you to be able to put on all the new numbers by the end of the month. And your paint by numbers, probably by the end of it's nothing, I'm not going to be approving your paint by numbers. I just want to see them so we can have really good conversations about how you're going to accomplish that. But the budget reviews we're going to have to do. Liliana, you had your hand raised.
I did. I was about to type it in. I just wanted to encourage everyone into thinking that our agents are going to look at us differently when we also go target those indies, and the cappers in the industry are also going to be looking at us differently, because some of our top producers know that we are in this conversation, and they're all like, what? So it's a big deal for them that we're having higher minded conversations with actual brokerages out there. It'll help with referrals.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure we're talking about profit sharing as eloquently as we could. I think it's what I find interesting is everybody's getting excited about rev share, and yet we don't talk about profit share enough. And people go, well, there's no profit. Well, guess what? There's no rev share if an agent's not doing any business either. But people don't talk about that for some reason. Okay. So the more we get our market centers profitable, and the more that if we don't talk about profit share, then people are not going to get excited about profit share. And guess what? In the old days, and Rebecca remembers this, there wasn't any profitability anyway in the very, very beginning, right, Rebecca? So we had to build the market centers to get to profitability. We're in the same situation now. And we built the market center for profitability through the agents. And we explained to them, hey guys, the more you help us grow our market share, and the more you help us grow this company and help these agents grow their business, the more this is going to add to our company dollar, and the more profitability we're going to have, and the more we're going to be able to share our profits back with you. But nobody ever talks about like rev share. I'm going to get rev share. It's like, okay, there's no profit. Well, guess what? There's no rev share if the agents aren't doing any business. And by the way, when they find out that they have to be, the difference between profit share and rev share is this, and then I'm going to is Ray coming on at 2:00, Ashley?
He's here.
Okay. Well, then I got to do my little thing as well. But the reason about rev share, the difference between rev share and profit share is revenue share is only like one line, in the sense of there's not a group of people that's going to make that agent's business successful, because only the people in that line are going to benefit from it, or that. Okay. In a profit sharing world, everybody kind of benefits from it, because even though we're teaching a class And those people may not be in my tree, but if specifically that I'm teaching, but if I've got somebody in that market center that's doing business, because the other agents are successful, we're all going to benefit from profit share. So I'm going to start going back to doing some profit sharing classes because I'm not sure if we're doing them in our market center or not. And there seems to be some momentum we gather when we do that. So it has a veterans interest. Exactly, Marietta. So cool. All right. Well, I think we got most everybody on the call now. Any questions? All right, so I'm going to run through this PowerPoint real quickly, and then Ray's going to take it over here. He needs about 15 or 20 minutes probably to do his side of it. So, all right, we're going to reverse it a little bit because I'm going to start off with the other items, and then we're going to let Ray finish it up. So, Ashley, can people see my screen? Probably not yet, right?
Not yet.
Okay, hold on for a second. I just okay. Oh, were they seeing my screen when I was doing the other thing? Probably not. Probably forgot to share. Are we sharing now?
Yeah, we're good. You're good for, yeah.
Okay, I was good before? Okay. Maybe, oh, I guess I went off share. Okay. All right, everybody good, Ashley?
Yep, we can see you.
Okay, here we go. All right, so let's start off with the lead. So the lead comes out the I believe the first Monday at the end of the last Monday at the end of the month, and the chew for agents comes out the last Friday at the end of the month. So you all should have received the lead. It actually came out on Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. So have you all received the lead? All right, if you haven't, let us know because we've sent this to you, and there's a lot of good content in there from different things that you can do in your market center. I think Ashley's giving you some information when they send it out about some topics or things that you could talk about at your team meeting. You could use this at your ALC meeting. This is really a great tool for you to utilize some of the content in it. And then the chew, now you're going to be getting this. It came out Friday. We're just getting prepared. This went out to all of the top agents. Ashley and Delia had a chance to review it today and to take a look at it, and you're going to be getting this today. So you want to make sure that you're sending this out to all of your internal agents because only the top agents get it. So this is going out to all of your internal agents, and then there's also an opportunity for you to send this out to your external agents. So again, another really good tool for you to send out to your agents. In addition to, I think it was Friday, once we get the one pager, every Friday now, you're getting our post for you to send out to internal and external agents, the podcast and the one pager. Okay, so you're getting that information. All right, I don't think we got that updated. All right, so our KWRI events, this is Mega Camp. So who are you inviting to Mega Camp? Would it be beneficial if we did an invite or something for you to be able to send out? Would that be helpful if we created something? Do you guys need something like that? No? Yes? All right. Because we're going to ask you, what are you doing to be able to get people to come to Mega Camp? By the way, Liliana, you might be interested in inviting those that group to Mega Camp. Okay. I think on our last call we were doing Okla said she had like 2 or 3 people already wanting to go to Mega Camp. So good recruiting, particular for indies. Okay. Then these are all of our upcoming events that we have, but I want to specifically talk to you about Phil Jones. So here's the opportunity. This is going to be June 26th and 27th. On the 25th, and this has been going out to top producers, I was going to send it to copy the MCAs on it, but we realized that we don't have the market center they're associated with on the roster list that we have. So we'll just have to let you know who we invited later on. But the 25th is going to be a special event from 2 to 6 for our top producers if they are registered for the 26th and the 27th event. So we're sending that out to them now. So here's the promo for the market centers. If you buy 3 tickets, you get 1 free. If you buy 6 tickets, you get 2 free. If you buy 9 tickets, you get 3 free. I don't care what combination you do them in. Okay, if you want to include other market centers, whatever. Okay, but you'll get a free ticket. So that really takes the price down. The price is $8.99. That's for the 2 days. If it's a top producer or maybe for leadership, you're going to get 3 days. Okay, for that $8.99 price, because you're going to get to come to the event on the 25th, the networking event. But that's not for all agents. That's just for top agents and for you. Okay, to come to that event. So it's really 3 days, and that's from 2 to 6 on the 25th. Then the 26th and the 27th, you get a certification from Phil Jones, and afterwards you get a lot more content and a lot of tools. Now, this is what I'm going to say. I've attended his event in New York, and it's amazing. And I think this is really going to help you with some conversations that you have with your agents, with recruits, just in general. So you're going to get a complete workbook. I've been there, so I know exactly what it is, and you're going to be amazed. And it was $2,500 for me to go, plus the cost to go to New York. I think his normal cost on this is $3,500 to $5,000. Just so you know, we're spending $75,000 to bring him. So you can see, and he wants it limited to like 100 to 125 people. So you can see at $8.99, there is no like profit money in here. It's him plus the $5,000 for his travel, or $2,500, whatever it was. Then, you know, the lunches and the little event we have. So it's just about, it's going to end up costing us a little bit of money to do this, but I really think it's going to be worth the investment on the region side. So you guys have a chance to be able to be certified and use his tools to be able to help you. So think about how you want to be able to use this offer. Okay. Then this Wednesday, we have him on a live Zoom. And Ashley, I want this sent out again today. We sent it out Friday, but if we could get that sent out again by the end of the day today, this live Zoom with Phil Jones at 11 o'clock. That's complimentary. All market centers should have this streaming in their market center training room. Make sure all your agents know about it. It's not a promo for the class, but I just want people. It's kind of like a promo, but it's not a sales pitch. It's more about him talking about the tools and some of the scripting and it's a little bit of a training event. Okay, and of course we're going to talk about the event. Then I think he's going to be on our call next Monday, Ashley?
That's correct.
To talk about just to leadership. Okay. So make sure you know about this. Phil Jones, June 4th, have this streaming in your market center at 11 o'clock. If you've got ALC meetings, if you've got team meetings, that's fine. Just stream it in during that time. But I would encourage you guys to get, to make sure you're getting your people to that. Then, hold on for a second. All right. And then we wanted to give a big congratulations to, I think this was the winner, the Lakeland Market Center with $2,770. Great job. Claremont was number 2 with $1,893. St. Petersburg with $1,059. Sarasota Metro with $968. Southwest with $946. And I think Orlando North with $897. Oh, and Lake Nona just made the $888, along with Tallahassee and along with Winter Haven. They made the $888. So they're all going to get the class with Mo, so the coaching class. So that's really, really great job. So congratulations to all of you and to everybody else. 622 for South Tampa, Daytona, Orange Park, Lakewood Ranch, Waterford, Tampa Central, Greater Manatee, Mandarin, North Park, Lander Central, Gainesville, Sarasota Siesta Key, Venice. Whoops, I don't have the rest of them on there. So I think those were the ones that that were all the contributors. But the winner is Lakeland. So congratulations to Lakeland, and they won the Market Center in a Box. So cool job. So congratulations. All right. Now I stuck this in here so you guys can copy it or whatever. Ashley, I just want to make sure we're sending it out. This is the video on Canva. So can you make sure that this is in the PowerPoint, Ashley, but I'm not sure if anybody copied it so we can get it out to everybody.
Okay.
The video, and it's canva.kw.com. I'm not sure if you go to canva.kw.com, maybe the video is there. I don't know. but I just wanted to make sure that all of you have that. So if you wanted to be able to watch the video and use that in your team meetings, and again, Ashley, it might be on canva.kw.com that they can go and the video might be there. We just need to check it out, okay?
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's do a congratulations to our top market centers. This is where you go off mute and you all hoot and holler and make sure that you're giving some exciting congratulations to all of our top winners. So in the number 10 spot with 108 units, it is Ocala. In the number 9 spot with 115 units, it's Gainesville. In the number 8 spot with 118 units, it's Sarasota Metro. In number 7 with 127 units, St. Petersburg. In the number 6 spot with 129 units, Lake Nona. In the number 5 spot with 135 units, it is Jacksonville Beach and Lakeland. In the 4th spot with 140 units, Venice. I think we have some new winners this month, as I recall seeing. In the number 3 spot with 146 units, Tallahassee. Congratulations.
Woo!
In the number 2 spot with 155 units, Orlando Central. Ooh, who could be number 1 with 163 units? It's Brandon. Congratulations, team. Good job on closed units. All right, let's check out closed volume. 46 million in the number 10 spot with Tallahassee. In the number 9 spot, 47 million, Winter Park. Number 8 with 48 million, Lakeland. In number 7 with 51 million, Tampa Central. In number 6 with 52 million, Orlando Lake Nona. In number 5 with 53 million, Brandon. Ooh, they were number 1 in units, so this will be interesting. Number 4, 62 million, Sarasota Metro. And in the number 3 spot with 71 million, St. Petersburg. In the number 2 spot with 75 million, 134, Orlando Central. In the number 1 spot with 93 million, 991, 658. Is that 93 million? That's a lot. St. Petersburg. Wait, that can't be right, Ashley. I didn't catch this before. Ashley, are you there?
I'm looking at,
All right, check that out because somewhere we made him. I run through these, but I guess I missed that one. In the number 10 spot with 88, Winter Haven. In the number 9 spot with 91, Ocala. In the number 8 spot with 101, Orlando Central. In the number 7 spot with 104, Jacksonville Beach. In the number 6 spot with 111 listings, Lakeland. In the 5 spot with 117 listings, Brandon. In the number 4 spot with 125 listings, St. Petersburg. Gosh, this is a lot of listings for business being off. Okay. In the number 3 spot with 160 listings taken, Oviedo. Woohoo. All right, the number 2 spot with 76 listings taken, Venice. And the number 1 spot with 177, Tallahassee. Ooh, check that out. Good job, Tallahassee.
Yeah, baby.
Does that have anything to do with that little business center we just brought on? More business? No? Yes? Good.
Yeah,
Good.
we did. We brought on an indie out of the business center, but yeah, so.
Yeah, cool.
did. Yep,
All this
yep.
makes a difference, right, Candace? Good job.
right.
Good job, good job, good job. Okay. You were closed units and listings, right?
I think, no,
Yeah.
I think we were number 3 in closed units.
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, anyway, good
Yeah.
job.
Thank you.
All right, owner's profit. Let's get this going. Oh, hold on, my PowerPoint's not. There we go. Sorry. All right, well, all right, hold on for a second. There we go. In the number 10 spot with 27,901, Orlando Central. In number 9 spot, 29,000, St. Augustine. In number 8 spot, 32,000, Gainesville. I love when she does that, and Chris. All right, number 7 with 34,000, Jack Southside.
Southside, Southside.
Southside, the best side. All right, number 6, 35,343, St. Petersburg. Number 5 with 35,429, Winter Park. Number 4 for 39,842, Sarasota Metro. Guys, a lot of market centers profitable. So if these can do it, everybody can do it. In the number 3 spot with 40,000, Brandon. In the number 2 spot with 42,357, Orlando Lake Nona.
Nona.
And in the number 1 spot with 75,689, Jacksonville Beach. Good job,
Woohoo.
guys.
Go Joe.
All right, and here we go with total gross agents joined. So the number 10 spot with 1 gross, Orlando North, Ryan. In the number 9 spot with 2 gross, Inglewood, Gulf Beaches, Oviedo, Metro, and St. John's. Good job, everybody. In the number 8 spot with 3 gross, Brandon, Celebration, Lakewood Ranch, Spring Hill, and St. Augustine. Now remember, this is for April. This is not for May. In the number 7 spot, Claremont, Lakeland, and Orlando Southwest. In the number 6 spot, with 5 gross, look at this. This is what our minimum is. Daytona, Gainesville, Greater Manatee, Inverness, Jack's Orange Park, Ocala, South Shore, South Tampa, Winter Haven, and Winter Park. In the number 5 spot, with 7 gross, Bradenton Manatee, Orlando Central, and St. Petersburg. In the number 4 spot with 9 gross, Jack's Beach, Jack's Mandarin, New Tampa, Orlando South, and Tampa Central.
Woohoo.
In the number 3 spot with 10 gross, Orlando Waterford. In the number 2 spot with 13 growth, Orlando Lake Nona and Venice.
Woo! Go Liliana.
And in the number
Hey.
1 spot with 14 gross, Tallahassee. Isn't that amazing?
Woo!
Way to go, Tallahassee.
Tallahassee. Chuck, gee, I wonder if all that makes a difference, Candace.
I think it does.
Great job, Candace.
I don't know. I think you were number 1 in closed units. You were number 1 in listings. You know, I think you were number, I don't know, 3 or 4, but anyway, profit numbers were good. So good job. And same thing with Lake Nona and everything. So good job, everybody.
Great job, guys.
All right. And let's do our net in the number 7 spot. Gainesville, Greater Manatee, Lakeland, Spring Hill, and St. John's, and they all had a net of 1. Thank you very much. In the number 6 spot with a net of 2, Daytona Beach. In the number 5th spot with a net of 3, New Tampa, Orlando Central, and Inverness. In the number 4 spot with 4 net, Bradenton Manatee, Jack's Beach, Jack's Mandarin, Jacksonville Orange Park. Look at that go. Orlando South and South Shore. In the number 3 spot with net 8, Tallahassee. Good job, everybody.
Woohoo!
In the number 2 spot with 10 net, Orlando Waterford. Jessica.
All right.
And the AELT team. And number 1 spot with 13 net, Venice, Robin, and the executive leadership team. Good job,
go.
everybody.
Awesome.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to say big congratulations. And do we have Mr. Ray?
Yes, I'm here.
How are you doing, Ray?
I'm doing great. Just listen to the numbers.
Hey, there were some big numbers there, right?
Absolutely.
And we're going into our season now, so who knows what's going to happen?
That's right. We're shifting into Overthrive.
All right. Well, let's hear about the market and see how this market's going to help us even improve our numbers even more.
All right. So this month we're talking about the market. Let's talk about the numbers. And we'll start with the numbers. And I didn't have the graph up, but as a state, if you go to floridarealtors.org, you'll see that for April 2025, as far as closed units, Georgia, we're down about 1,000 units year over year, 23,500 this year, closed units to 24,600 last year. So we're down about 4.5%. Okay.
And how many units is that actually, Ray?
Well, we closed this year for the state, 23,572. Okay. Last year we closed 24,682. So we're down about 4.5%. That's the trend.
About 1,500 units.
Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's
the
not
other
like
thing that we-
10,000 units.
no, it's about 1,000 units, 23.5 to 24.6.
Yeah.
Yep.
For the
As
entire
far as
state, for the entire state of Florida.
the entire state of Florida.
Yeah, oh, that's minimal.
Yep. And these are saying, well, so the reality is I always look at major things like closed sales. I look at median price. Our median price for single family homes went down 4%. We went from 429,900 to 412,734. So we're definitely seeing a shift down. Okay, and this is April to April. So these are true numbers for the state from our boards. Okay, median time to contract. We're looking at last year we're at 35 days. This year we're at 43 days. So our median time to contract went up 23% year over year. In Orlando, we're at 70 days. So when people say, wow, it takes 43 days to go to contract, that's nothing compared to what we're seeing in Orlando. We're at 70 days to contract. All right. And do you see why we use these numbers to educate buyers and sellers?
Yeah.
You know, if you're walking into a listing appointment and you're in Orlando and you say that the average time to contract on a house in Orlando is 70 days and you show them the numbers, they understand that they have to price it right and they have to get it ready, right? That's just the reality of the numbers.
That's about two to 2.5 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of in the past 2 to 3 days.
Well, that's true. At 2020 and 21 were ridiculous. They were outliers. And then the last thing we want to talk about, of course, is because all economics 101 is, Georgia, is supply and demand, right? In any business. And our supply is our inventory and our demand is our closed sales. So we know we're down 4.5% in demand. Our inventory year over year on single family homes is up 33.3%. Last year we had 87,800 homes on the market in April. This year we have 117,046. So we definitely have more inventory. We have more houses to sell. So if I'm a buyer,
or more houses to choose from.
that's right. If I'm a buyer,
Yeah.
and now I have choices, right?
Exactly. So this could be a good time to buy because you've got more choices than you've ever had before, right?
Absolutely. And this is what I'll tell you overall in Orlando, because I do a lot of market data in Orlando. Even though we have higher inventory year over year to the tune of about 45%, a lot of our newer inventory for the last 18 months is down by the Disney Four Corners area. It's very, very, there's a lot of inventory down there that's not normally down there. And it's a lot of Airbnb people that were buying Airbnbs 5 years ago that now they're not able to rent them because there's too much competition.
Right.
So we as leaders, we need to help our agents understand what our local numbers are, whatever city we're in. So I'm looking at Candace right now. It's our job as leaders to know what Tallahassee's doing. The state numbers are the state numbers, right? But the state numbers aren't my numbers. And I love when I hear the national news talk about inventory still low. Are you kidding me? Look, we just said inventory's up 33% for the state, and in Orlando, it's up 45%. So we have to know our local numbers so our agents can be really giving out great data for buyers and sellers. Okay,
Well,
so let's
Ray,
go to the
this is what we've said before. This is a skills-based market, right? And
Yeah.
one of the I'm going to unpin you, I think. One of the I don't know, remove spotlight. There we go. One of the biggest opportunities that they have in the skill is to be able to present and know and understand the numbers so they can have educated conversations with people, right? Because
Absolutely.
if we're teaching and you need to have agents that want to know these numbers and understand the difference. They need to know this is not about meeting somebody and taking them out and showing a property that they see on HGTV and writing a contract. I mean, it's our job to have these I'm going to say difficult conversations. To me, it's not, but most of these people don't understand that that's their job.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
All right, can you all see the PowerPoint? Because I've got Ray pinned on my screen, but I want to make sure that all of you can see the screen. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, so we talked about this. So I wrote this presentation the first week of May because I was teaching in the market centers here in Orlando. And then of course Gary started, he brought on the chief economist for Housing Wire, which is kind of mentioned in here. The really big thing right now is we hear about it every day is tariffs, right? So when our agents are asked, well, how do you think tariffs are going to affect the real estate market and will they? We have to help our agents understand that there's a lot of data out there and there's a lot of what Gary calls noise, right? If you go on YouTube right now, and me and Rich Carpentieri talk about this and joke about it, if you go on YouTube right now and type in Florida housing market, it looks like 2008's all over again, right? That's just the reality. It's going to be bad. How far is it going to crash? It's going to be worse than 2008. Well, with the tariffs, what we have to understand is the Federal Reserve is watching the tariffs very closely as to how they affect everything, because the Federal Reserve's job is to make sure that everything remains stable, right? So Powell indicates tariffs could pose a challenge for the Fed between controlling inflation and boosting growth, right? So he needs to make sure he's going to take a stance to where he wants to go ahead and just kind of be on hold for now. At the last Federal Reserve meeting, they did not lower rates like we thought they were going to do. And then in reading the PowerPoint here, tariffs are highly likely to generate at least a temporary rise in inflation. For the time being, Powell is positioned to wait for greater clarity before considering any adjustments to our stance. Because a month ago, they had mentioned that they might lower Fed rates 4 to 6 times this year. Interest rates went down, but guess what? Now they're close to 7% again, right? So they've been pinballing all for the last 5 months because nobody can dictate where rates are going to go. We think as experts that within the next 2 years, they should be in the 5s. But then again, 2 years ago, we thought they would be in the 5s. So the Federal Reserve is keeping an eye on this. Markets expect that the Fed will start reducing the rates again in June and enact 3 to 4 quarter percentage cuts by December. That's what they think based on where we're at. The Fed's goal, of course, is 2% inflation, currently sitting at 2.6%. The second goal for the Fed is to keep unemployment close to 4%. Currently, we're at 4.2. I think last numbers this month we're closer to 4.4. So the reality is we're pretty stable right now, right? That's why rates aren't dropping. So the Fed's just kind of on hold. They need to figure out what's going on. And when our agents keep hearing from people, I'm going to wait till rates go down. The problem is you can wait, and if you're renting, that money doesn't go anywhere, right? You're not building any equity. And again, the numbers that we need to throw out are a person that owns a home versus a person that rents a home, the difference in wealth accumulation. The average renter in America, their wealth accumulation is $10,000. The average person that owns a home, their wealth portfolio is somewhere around $410,000. So when are you going to buy a house and start your journey to generational wealth? That's what we need to be talking about. All right.
Oh, you got to repeat that. That was so good, Ray. Say it again.
Yeah. So the reality is the average renter in America, when you look at their wealth portfolio, it's about $10,000 in total. When you look at the average homeowner in America, it's $410,000 for their wealth portfolio. So when we have agents that say, I can't get these renters to start buying, I'm not going to convince them to start buying because they'll have buyer's remorse. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about reasons why people do get on the path to creating generational wealth for them and for their heirs. And I use language like that because people like to think about the future, even if they don't think of the future being now. So a great term to use is when you rent your condo for 1 more year, how much equity are you building in that condo? 0 is the answer. And every once in a while, you'll hear somebody say, well, remember in 2008 when we lost all this money? Well, the reality, guys, is over the last 50 years, home prices have only went down 2 to 3 times in 50 years. So I think when we were at leadership camp, they talked about one time in the 80s and 2009 and 11. were the 3 times in history that as a nation, home prices ever went down. Now, we can't say that in Orlando because we had several years that they went down. But as a nation, remember, appreciation is 4%. So when I work with investors and they want crazy numbers, I say, look, let's use a number of 4% appreciation when we're putting this into our calculations. And that's good. On a $400,000 house, if you make $16,000 with somebody else paying your mortgage and paying it down, good for you, right? That's called passive money. All right, so
Okay.
next order.
Well, Ray, the other thing I wanted to mention is that a lot of these people that we're talking to are uneducated from the standpoint of all they remember is the 2 and 3% interest rate. So they think that's a standard. We're not
Yeah.
educating people over a period of time, from I remember in the 80s when the interest rates went up to 18% and discount points and all those things. So, if you look at our average interest rate, I think it's in the 6s and 7%. So
Yeah,
it's a little bit
that's right.
higher than the average maybe right now, if you think about average at 5 or 6, but it's certainly, if they're waiting for it to go down to 2 or 3, that's probably never going to happen.
The median
Yeah.
7%
Yeah.
since tracked them since 1972.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the average interest rate for me used to be like around 9%. When it would go down to 9, I was like, woohoo, But so we need to educate our buyers and sellers who are the younger consumer now, who haven't lived a life of buying and selling real estate. So they're looking for something maybe that's not out there. So we need to make sure we're educating our agents to have these conversations so they know, number one. Number two is that if they're in a tax situation, income situation, they're going to save income tax money, but they don't think about that from a monthly cash flow perspective. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And everything. So we really need to be educating our agents on having these conversations or having first-time homebuyer seminars that you create as the market center. An agent doesn't want to do it because they're uncomfortable, because they don't know what they don't know what to talk about. But if you create the first time or homebuyer seminar and let them invite their friends, neighbors, relatives, clients, whomever to this, and you're putting it on for them, so they're attending it with them, then we take that fear of the unknown away. So I think we should regularly be having these sessions. So we're helping educate the public.
Well, and also one of the, first-time home buyers are definitely important. But, when you look at the numbers, and I know Brandy knows these a lot, and it has to do with the older folks, the boomers, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
the boomers own 41% of real estate in America, and the boomers are aging out, right? So over the next 10 years, we're going to have the largest transfer of wealth in American history. And it's just because they're aging out and they're moving on, whether they're downsizing or going to an assisted living facility,
Right.
or even, getting a condo. There's a lot of this money out there, and a lot of the boomers don't owe anything on their houses.
Right.
So they're not nickel and diming. They're not even worried about interest rates. When you go to list a house, if they like you and trust you and you can show them that their house is worth this, they're not nickel and diming you.
No.
The reality is it's all about the relationship you have with that person. And if you take care of them, they have a family. After this meeting, I'm going to meet a gentleman that's 96, his daughter, at his house. And she's the decision maker for him. And when we talked on the phone, I was away this weekend on vacation for my uncle's 75th anniversary or birthday. And when I talked to her, she's like, well, I've talked to 3 different agents. You're the only one I haven't met, but I like you because you know what you're talking about.
Right.
Well, that's why we need to know our stuff. I sent her a bunch of stuff before we got on a Zoom so she could read all the market data about her dad's house. So when we talked intelligently, and now I get a chance to shake her hand and get everything signed. And she had never met me, but at least when we talked, she knew I knew about the market, and that's the difference.
Right. And these are the things that we need to be talking to our agents about.
100%. So, when you jump on YouTube, these are the kind of things. This was a Housing Wire or a Newsweek article that was published last month, May 2nd, right after I wrote this presentation right after this came out. And I think Gary was doing the same thing when he brought in the chief economist for Housing Wire. Florida housing market mirrors the 2008 crash, says the real estate analyst. Florida now has 177,000 homes for sale, most on record. Now, this also includes condos and townhomes, where the stats that I was using was single family homes from Florida Realtors. The entire Northeast, as of the 2nd, only had 79,000 homes listed, the lowest ever recorded. So when I talk to Matt Meyer, who's probably on this, and he talks about the New Jersey market in the middle of December was having multiple offer, it's because of that number, 79,000 listings in the Northeast in total. You hear about Connecticut being red hot, Delaware being red hot. So when the national news talks about low inventory, they're talking about the Mecca of America, which is the Northeast, not the overall country of America. Home buyers in Florida need to pay 39% of their income on average on mortgage tax costs. It's the highest ever since the bubble, the 2006-2007 bubble. So in 2007, Orlando got all the way to 275,000 as a median price. And by 2011, we got down to 95,000. Guys, 275 to 95 in a 4-year period. That was scary, right? That was bad. That's nothing like we have now. People are blaming HOA, hurricanes, and insurance for a lot of what's going on. The migration of new residents has slowed down and dropped 80% since the pandemic, right? We know that because after the pandemic, everybody that lived in the Northeast wanted to live here all their lives, now could work virtually, and we saw that influx of people. Well, the good thing is we still see $1,000 people a day coming to Florida. So we might not see quite as few or quite as many, but we see quite a few. All right. Florida home prices as of that date had dropped 2.4% over the last year. Prices will drop further 5% of the coming year. This is a publication by Housing Wire or Newsweek. Okay. This is Newsweek's opinion of what's going on. All right, Georgia, go to the next slide, please.
Going.
So what does Zillow say? Guys, most people listen to Zillow because that's just what most people hear. All right. Before your agents go on a listing appointment, make sure they go to Zillow. Make sure they type in the address so they know what the consumer thinks their house is worth. Zillow is the #1 real estate platform in the world for a reason. And that's because people have been using it since 2005, 2006 when it started. And people were using Zillow during that time frame to see how much appreciation they had lost in their house back then. That's why it got prevalent really fast. Well, Zillow has kind of changed its tune over the last few months. Zillow's economists are not calling for homes to crash, but they have changed their tune. In January, their forecast was a positive 2.9% appreciation. By February, it was downgraded to 1.1%. In March, 0.8%. In April, a negative 1.7%. So Zillow has seen the numbers slow down. If I look at the Florida numbers, guess what? The same thing has happened, guys. And what's it due to? It's due to affordability issues and uncertainty. That's what it is. The tariffs are uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen. The Fed's watching the tariffs to see what's going to happen so they know to raise the rate or lower the rate. The uncertainty, right? We already know that affordability hasn't been this bad since 2006 and 2007 before the crash. So there are a lot of people right now that are uncertain if they want to buy. So we have to teach them that stability comes through owning a house, right? If you can afford it, All right.
Ray, I saw an email today. I don't know who it came out from. I'll send it to you guys. But did you see the thing about Compass? Like Zillow is not putting Compass's some of their listings on. I guess they have a challenge with Compass right now. Are you guys seeing that?
Anyone that doesn't, like if they do that delayed syndication.
Right.
And Compass has their own website, so
Right.
they're not putting some of their listings on the MLS at all. And Zillow is basically saying they're blacklisting any listing like that.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about that from a perspective of Compass agents being with them? Do you think it's a challenge or?
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
That's
I
gonna
mean,
hurt.
yeah.
People go to Zillow. People go to
Right.
Zillow, whether we like it or not. And basically what Zillow's saying is if you put it on the private listing and delay the listing, you're not gonna put it on Zillow.
At all.
So
Like they won't
Zillow has
even
made
put
a
it on
stance.
afterwards, I don't think.
No, they'll completely like blacklist them.
Blacklisted.
Yeah,
Right.
like it'll never go on Zillow. So,
Right.
but there's the flip side to that from a lot of luxury agents. It's very mixed. So you have like 50% of the agents that feel like it's to the detriment of the consumer because it's not on the syndication through the most popular unique visited sites. And then the other flip side is they feel like it's a consumer choice. And when it's a, ultra high net worth individual and they want privacy and discretion, that they don't want it on these sites. They don't want a bunch of looky-loos. So I see both points because I do have clients that are really, really private. And for them, they don't want all of the websites exposing their address and people driving by. So they're using it to recruit luxury agents. So just understand that if you have agents that are selling in a high price point, they're using it as a recruiting tool and they are shifting the mindset of a lot of agents. So just know your perspective can be your perspective, but you have to also understand that they are recruiting and using that and it's working.
Yeah.
Well, can I just
Georgia,
say,
Georgia, one of the things I think that we need to really look at is there's a really good chance there's going to be a major class action lawsuit down the road in a couple of years. And I think it could be coming from both sides of the aisle. If agents are telling what they believe is in the seller's best interest, I think that could be a violation. I think agents need to explain the pros and cons to putting houses if it's just listed on an individual like a KWL, listings network or a Compass. There's advantage and disadvantage. There's also advantages and disadvantages of putting it in the open MLS. That needs to be a decision made by sellers, not by agents. And just from communication with agents, I think that most agents are so opinionated, they're giving their opinion, which is going to lead to future class action lawsuits from both sides. The person that put it off in a private network or the
Yep.
agent that listed with MLS, they're both going to complain that they didn't get the highest and best use of the most amount of money. And it opens us up to a
They're going to say
lawsuit.
that they didn't feel like they had a choice. It goes back to
Right.
exactly what happened with commission saying, I didn't think it was negotiable, or I didn't feel like I had a choice. So it all goes back to the consumers feeling like they have a choice versus us dictating, you're not going to get as many showings or you're not going to get a highest offer. And, and you can pull data from multiple sources and make whatever story you want on that.
Doesn't matter.
But when you're pulling all the data and it isn't like ultra high net worth, 10 million and up or 5 million and up listings, you might not, or you're only pulling it from Zillow. That is the story that they likely want it to be with those numbers. So there's not enough data to support one side or the other than like certain third-party syndication sites that want it to look this way. So I see both sides, but the consumer should have a choice versus somebody telling them what's going to happen.
I think, Brandy, the biggest thing is that agents always want to prove that they're right in this quest, and they'll pull data to substantiate their viewpoint. It's not a matter of who's right anymore. It's a matter of giving choice and letting other people decide.
And getting it in writing.
That's the problem our industry is facing. And no matter what data you pull that substantiates that agent's opinion, I think it's opening up the agent and the brokerage to a future lawsuit.
Well,
Yep.
these are.
Our job is educator, not advisor in this issue.
And these are great training points, Rich, that you're making in your market center and having people sign off that you've
Yeah.
had the training. So if there is something coming up that you may or may not be included in that. Do you know what I mean? So was there somebody else that had a comment?
it was me,
Okay.
and I could be starting a rumor, but when we were at Mega Leadership,
Mhm.
okay, it wasn't the guy from Zillow, it was the guy from Housing Wire.
Mhm.
There was a study that was done, that couple things that people didn't, the biggest source of seller's remorse were for people that didn't put it out there to the entire public. And in general, on the average price in the ML, or the average price out there MLS wise, that if you didn't put it out to the general public, and we're not talking about luxury, but you lost at least $30,000.
Mhm.
And I know that there's a lot of reports out there, different studies, but we do need to find one that's non-biased, because Gary says the biggest antidote to fear is data. And I think if you address it in your marketing plan or your pre-listing pack with a couple different studies, I think that's the best way to do it.
Still let it be there.
And the ones that are the most accurate.
So Gary he presented those at the in-person top teams, and I'm assuming he did it for individual top agents as well. I'm assuming that they had similar studies, and it has all the key findings, so I can send that if anyone needs that.
That would be great.
Send it to Ashley and we'll send it out to everybody, Brandy.
Okay, sounds good. I think one was Rebecca CNN, and of course the other one was Zillow. So, of course, hopefully it's unbiased, but we all know there's probably a little reason why they put the study together. But the other one I think was CNN. So I don't know, for whatever it's worth, there's some information from different people in his studies he presented.
Well, just personally, I mean, I really do believe that when you don't put your product out to the general public, that you're going to lose. Just overall, personally, I believe that. And we know that from general supply and demand. So I know people like to have things private, but I honestly believe our clients suffer by not being marketed to absolutely everyone.
I had a listing recently, and the way that I handled it, Rebecca, to help them, and it was through multiple steps. It was, okay, you want it as an office exclusive, and then they see, okay, we don't have as much activity. We had some inquiries, but nothing solid. And I said, listen, there's a way to put it on the multiple listing service with a non-disclosed address. And I can't even tell you why they wanted it to be so private, because I'm a single agent to them, but it was just, there's some concerns for security and many reasons. So I understand it. His family comes to town every once in a while, but you can put it in the MLS. And I know with Stellar with a non-disclosed MLS, so that's a great workaround to make everybody happy.
So, but my question is, if you do that, or if you don't put in the MLS, then they change their mind, they have to understand that they're not going to be listed with Zillow. And my big question is, how's Zillow gonna really track it? That's another thing.
Well, good conversation. That's good conversation, but I want to be sure we, keep on track with Ray and everybody. So,
All right.
but I think
I'm
it's a good
sorry, Ray.
conversation. We can
No, you're
continue this
good.
on our OP conversation on Monday. So this is interesting. A lot of people coming to Florida, huh, Ray?
Well, so what Redfin does is they're looking for leading indicators, right?
Uh-huh.
What does the future look like? That's what Gary always says. So with this, what Redfin basically says is, where are people looking to move? Where are people looking to move from? So when you look at this is a heat map, right?
Mhm.
The most orange state, which is the move to state, is Florida by far. Then Arizona, Tennessee, a lot of the Sun Belt states, Texas is in there. If you go to the next slide, Georgia, this is actually the real numbers from Redfin. These are the top 10 move to areas, cities, and these are the top 10 where people are moving from. Sacramento was number 1, Phoenix, Cape Coral, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Sarasota, Florida, and then Jacksonville,
Great.
Florida. So we had 4 of the top 10 places that people move from in February through April.
You mean move
So you
to?
can see that people are still coming. People are leaving too. That's just a reality. I got a call from an upset client from one of my agents today, wanted to talk to the broker, and he wants to move back to New York, and it's his right, and he's done with Florida. Well, you know what? That's fine. It's not for everybody. It's like Keller Williams. We're not for everybody. But our agents need to know that we still have a lot of people coming. Like Georgia says, it's not doom and gloom. There's a lot of real estate to sell out there. It's not, don't get too caught up in the numbers because there's still a lot of real estate to move. And now we can see where they're coming from and we can see where they're going, which is really cool. All right, next, Georgia. What are younger buyers thinking, right? We talked a little bit about the older boomers. A UCLA study of people ages 14 to 17 found they still want financial security, good health, and feel the cards are stacked against them for home ownership, right? They feel like they'll never own a home. Owning a home, getting married, and having kids matter less, right? How can they have kids if they can't afford to take care of themselves? You know, with these interest rates at 7%, a few years ago, the interest rates were at 3%. You know, they feel like they might have missed the opportunity to buy. 1 in 3 adolescent families live under the poverty line. That's crazy. You know, when I was on the news last month talking about what the governor's proposing with the $1,000 credit, one of my agents in one of my market center called me up and said, "Ray, it's only $1,000. I thought that they were going to get rid of all the property tax." And I said, "Dude, $1,000 credit to a lot of people is a lot of money." And he says, "Ray, 1,000's not a lot of money." And I said, "The problem is you make a lot of money and the average American doesn't make a lot of money." You know, that's the reality. 61% of Americans can't deal with $1,000 life event. And if that happens, they will miss either their mortgage or their rent payment. That's the reality that we live in. So 1 in 3 adolescent families live under the federal poverty level. Over half of Gen Z are extremely worried about not having enough money and feel anxious and on edge every day. That's how our younger folks. Why are our first-time home buyers 38 years old, the oldest ever? That reason. They're all worried about their financial future. We've never had more people living at home with their parents. You know, people up to 29 living with their parents. They can't get out there and get going. Things are expensive right now. So multi-generational residences are in vogue right now. We just have to know what the market of today and what our people are thinking. Next. All right, let's talk about the distressed market because people think that it's not distressed. The reality is, and I was teaching my group of people where I was at this weekend this, because they said, "Well, we haven't heard anything about this." The reality is, guys, the distressed market is there. We're just not, as realtors, we're not seeing it hit the market. What's happening is before it goes REO or bank owned, the hedge funds are buying them. That's the reality. So when you look at this chart, one of the guys that I used to do a lot of distress with, he goes, "Ray, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming like 2008. But the issue is people have equity in their houses now, guys. That's the difference. That's why this whole thing's not going to collapse. The average American has $315,000 in equity in their house. The average American. If they lose their job or their spouse dies and they can't afford to live there, they have equity. The problem is they stop paying the bank because they can't, and they should be calling a realtor for options. If we sell their house, they can keep the equity and not the bank. So when you look at all these numbers, these are the real numbers of what's going on. You know, the people have bought houses in the last few years that are in turmoil or some sort of financial hardship. They don't have equity in their house if they didn't put a big payment down. A VA buyer, an FHA buyer, they're just not. They're not in a good position. Okay, that's just the other side of the coin. So I would, if you know, for my people, I'm going to get the CDPE guy to come back because short sales are starting to ramp up again. I taught this in one of my market centers, and 4 agents were already working on short sales. You know, that's just the reality. Is in certain areas, that's what's happening. You know, I heard that Jacksonville is very distressed, and this is just me looking at the numbers. And if somebody from Jacksonville can confirm that, then, you know, it runs in line with what's going on. I think Liliana just typed something for short sales. You know, that the reality is you as a leader need to have somebody that can talk and speak to this, whether it's a short sale company that will do the short sale processing for you, because I know one thing. I do not want any of my agents as an OP talking to the bank for a client. I want a third party doing that as a professional. That's the reality. I see that Orange Park says it's already happening. Guys, this is a thing that's going to be going on for the next few years. Is that Gene? Oh, I thought he was going to say something.
It's probably Mary.
So when you look at these numbers, these are the cold, hard facts of what's going on in our market. Behind the scenes, people are hurting. You know, that's just the reality. So that's a great graph to put in front of everybody. All right, last slide before we end. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what this all means and how our agents can figure out the market. All right, so I'm a big proponent of keeping in touch with your database. This is the reality. When you keep in touch with your database, you find out that they haven't paid on their house in 6 months. You find out that they want to buy a house because they're having another child. You find out all the things that are going on in their lives. And if they don't know somebody, if they're not looking to buy and sell, they know somebody looking to buy and sell. That's the reality of today's market. Like Georgia said, it's a skill-based market, but it's also a lifestyle-based market. You know, people are moving not because they want to move a lot of times, because they have to move. They're having kids, you know, it's all the D's, like Brandy likes to talk about, the diamonds and the diapers. And the reality is people are moving because they have to lose a job, reload. So if you're not keeping in touch with the people that know, like, and trust you, past clients, you're failing. That is the reality of staying in real estate, staying successful in real estate, and taking market share in your local area. And that's what this article was about in Inman, you know, staying in touch with your database. Guys, we have to know these numbers so our agents can know these numbers. That is the whole reality of all the noise. And when Gary Keller brought the Zillow guy on and brought the Housing Wire guy on, that's the kind of stuff. I wrote this the 1st of May or the 2nd of May, right? Because everybody's like, Ray, what the hell's going on with the market? I hear that it's great. I hear that it's bad. I hear it's distressed. I hear it's not distressed. The reality is the market's the market in your area. You need to know what's going on in your area, because what's going on in Orlando is not going on in Jacksonville, not going on in Sarasota. You know, that's just the reality of where your market centers are at. Know your local numbers. Make sure your people are the economists of choice. Make sure that when somebody wants to know about the market, they're calling your agents. And it all starts with us teaching our agents exactly what's going on in their areas. So, Wiki, when I did this for Gainesville earlier this month, we had a packed house. I don't think I've ever seen that many people in the training room. It was fantastic. You know, that agents crave knowledge. You know,
The right agents crave knowledge.
I'm sorry?
The right agents crave knowledge.
Yeah, that's true too. But the reality is, if it's coming from me, I know it's real data, real information. And that's how we provide value, guys, because that's not happening in a virtual company, right? Most agents have the personality of, they like to be together. They like they're high I personalities in the DISC assessment. They like to get together. And when there's a lot of energy, it helps. When I look at all of our team meetings, it's a energy filled team meeting. And when people say, how do you get so many people to come to your team meeting? You have to have great info and a lot of energy, period. So anyway, that's what we got for this month, guys. Hopefully that helps.
This is awesome. And then Olga, you want to know where did the information come from? Shortsalestart.com. Is that it, Ray?
Yeah, and send that out to everybody, Georgia, so they
We're
can
gonna send
take whatever they want from
I think
this.
the recording got started a little late, but I think we got it started before you started talking too much. So we'll
Okay.
send because it's really important that they hear what you do. Guys, here's the thing. The reason we have Ray do this every month is well, first of all, to provide you the information, but aside, how do I quit sharing? What's going on here? Did I quit sharing? No, stop
You
sharing. I don't know. It moved around. Oh, you're pinned in front of me, Ray, but that's okay. I just see your face really big. For two reasons. Well, many reasons. One, to bring you the value so you know what's going on. The second thing is this is recorded and you get this PowerPoint. So you can take any one of these presentations or the whole thing and do it yourself. Number three, you should be getting the information and using it in your repertoire of conversation for your internal and external conversations. I saw a ton of things here that I could be talking to an external agent about, a recruiter. But first of all, the short sale. I mean, that's number one. Like, do you have any training on that? If I were to have training on that, would you be interested in coming? And then getting a short sale. We have a lot of our own OPs that know how to do that. Chris is good at it. Ray, you've been good at it. But then you can bring in the experts on it, and we need to start getting ahead of it. So we're we're the real estate company of choice. Because Ray's right. These virtual companies and all these other places, they're not talking about this stuff. But here's what's most important. I don't know that we spend a lot of time with our new agents from the standpoint of they're not listing and selling, so we don't spend a lot of time with them. But I think there's a missing element here. I think we need to be spending more time from this perspective. Do they want to know this information? If they blow you off and don't want to know this information, they're probably not the right people to be in real estate and not wanting to be associated with you. But there could be some new people or people that are on your roster that don't know what they don't know, and we may not be reaching out to them. I think we need to start having these conversations because, when I see 17, 18, 20 people leave a market center, I'm not saying that they're not doing anything. I get that. But I don't know that and I could be wrong, but I think Ray, I think we need to start having these conversations to say, look, if you want to stay in this business and be good at this, I need to have you come to this session. I need to see how you're going to talk to a buyer and seller. And these are the numbers that you need to know. And every month I'm going to have this training so you guys can come in and learn what you need to talk about. We're going to role play together and we're going to help you get the business because there's 1,000 units out of the entire state of Florida is not very many, right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
There's a lot of business. If I go in and look at the business out there, there's a lot of business out there. And there's these 1 and 2s and 3s deals that are being done by people that aren't even in our area. And how are we letting them get into our neighborhoods and stuff? So anyway, that's my take on it. I think we need to have more eyeball to eyeball and conversations before we start losing more people. Wiki.
You're on mute, bud.
You're on mute. There you go.
Sorry. I just wanted to add this. Ray came to our market center and he did a version of what everybody saw today. But very quickly, he took the focus off of himself because everybody locally would say, that's great for Orlando, Ray, but what's that mean in Gainesville? So he answered the question before it ever proposed itself. And that was this: either get with your ALC or get with top agents in your office and gather them up for a quick 10, 15-minute meeting before your agent partner meeting and have a little discussion about how the agents become the economic person of choice, because it makes all the difference if they're the ones that are doing the talking as opposed to us. And the newer agents are going to build off of that and they're going to say, oh, this is where, the leadership comes from. It happens from inside of the group. And I just think, that team meeting, we always schedule it for an hour, but it was like an hour and 15 minutes. And Ray really just got the whole thing started and then poured it back into the leaders in the office. So everybody can do that because your local market is what really matters.
Yes, and that's called an ALC. You're 100% right, Wiki. And if your ALC is on board and you're teaching this to your ALC and they are the Associate Leadership Council in a market center for a reason, it's because they should know that information and they should be working to be your leaders and wanting to share this information. So they're helping others succeed. So I really appreciate you bringing that back up, Wiki, because you're 100% right. Now, other people can be a part of that too, right, Wiki? But it's your ALC that should start with. By the way, the topics here should be the content of your ALC meeting as well. It shouldn't be like, oh, I mean, somebody started off an ALC meeting with committees. I go, no, they're not coming to an ALC meeting to work about committees. You need to be educating them on this and then making sure that they're meeting with other agents in the market center and having panels and different things where you can bring some of this information to life. So this is how we're going to make a difference. We're going to be looking at your training calendars to see if you are bringing these tools into your market center. So that's why we do this for you. Great job, Ray. Thank you so much. I know you put a lot of effort into that, and so we appreciate it. Wiki, anything
you.
else?
Nope. All good.
Okay. Well, it's always good to end with a wiki story. No, it's wiki. Wiki. All right, guys. Have a great, thank you for everything you do. We're going to be getting the email out so we can really be focused on the last 6 months of this year so we can rock it out and start our year off great next year. So I appreciate you. Love you. And thanks for everything you do. Bye.
Bye.